Hello friends, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Elise, and this is my not so mystical bookshelf. So if you didn't get the chance to watch my 100th video, I have made the announcement that I am moving, and none of my stuff is here right now. We've been packing away, getting ready to go on our home journey to Florida, and that will be our final move in our life, hopefully. We'll probably move different areas in Florida, but Florida is where we are going to be for the rest of our lives. But so none of my stuff is here. My desk is still here, but that won't be here for long because we are moving stuff rapidly. We are moving next month. Not next month, but August. But it's practically July already, so you know how it is. But anyway, without further ado, I have for you the TTYL Internet Girls by Lauren Miracle, and I picked this up at ThriftSmart a long time ago. It says $4.924, so yeah, it was a long time ago. And I just got around to reading it. I thought I had read it in middle school or high school at least. But, reading it as an adult, I was like, I probably didn't because it's kind of mature a little bit. Like, there's some real interesting themes in this book. Like, it's kind of grown up for teenagers, but I know teenagers, they just do whatever they want to do at that point in their lives. So, it's to be expected, but it's definitely something that I don't think I would have picked up as a kid, because it would have been like, whoa, a little too much for a young Elise. But so this book was very interesting. It takes place in the early 2000s, so it's got that 2003 aesthetic going on. And it's fun because it's told in the style of instant messaging, which I think is great. I really enjoy that format. It feels like a mixed media book as a result. And I think the one thing that I love about this book series, it has 4 books. This is going to be a series overview. This is the only one that I own, though, because I found it. But basically it's following 3 besties. We have Zoe, who is Zoe Girl. We have Madigan, who is Mad Maddie. And we have Angela, who is Snow Angel in the book, or in the instant message world, not book world. But we follow them. This first book takes place when they are in 10th grade. They are 15 years old. They are navigating boys, drama, and friendships. And it is all told through instant messaging. So the reader, it's kind of an interesting plot device to tell a story through instant messages because, and I was telling this to my husband, it's like I'm getting a second-hand account from the girls, but I'm not getting that first person or omnipresent point of view from the narrator. Like, because I know sometimes books are either in first person or they're in third person omnipresent, or they can be in second person. But this book is told through the eyes of the girls through instant message. So everything that I read from them is a second-hand account technically. And I think that's a very interesting plot device because the only reason I know what's going on is because I'm reading their instant messages. And I think it's really fun. I think it's super fun. I love that there's no background descriptions. There's no character descriptions. I don't know what these girls look like right away. They do talk about what they look like in the second book, but from the first book's point of view, I have to imagine who these girls are for myself. But they actually do bring up how they look because they talk about actresses that would portray them. So Maddie is like a dirty blonde, and Angela is like, her hair is kind of like mine, and Zoe's hair is also kind of like mine, but it's shorter. And it's just interesting going through this book series as like a voyager almost. It's like I'm seeing what's happening, but I'm not being the first person accounting for it. I guess I'm more of a fly on the wall when you think about it with this type of book, because I have to put the pieces together of what's going on in the story based on how the girls are talking and their instant messaging. And it's really good. I actually really liked it. I was kind of cringe about it at first, but then I had to be like, Elise, it's an early 2000s book. Of course it's going to be cringy. Of course they're going to use language that's kind of eh. It's instant messaging. Of course the grammar is going to be bad. So I had to like remove myself from criticizing it too much, because it's a book about teenage girls doing silly teenage girl stuff. And when you remove that adult like criticizing part of your brain, you really do enjoy it. And I gave it 3 stars. This first book is a 3-star, but I would say the second book is a 4-star, and the third book is a 5-star actually. I mean, in all sense of the words, it's a 5-star. But yeah, this book follows the girls, like I said, and they're 15. Maddie's about to turn 16, and it's just so dramatic. The drama in this book is fabulous. It's like totally on point for how 15-year-old girls act, and I'm loving it. I love it. I am cringe queen when it comes to stuff like this. So at first it was like kind of like, I don't want to lean into it, but then it's like, no, lean into it. Lean into the cringe. That's what we're here for. We are here for the early 2000s cringe. That's my battle cry when I'm definitely sitting here reading this book. So it's interesting how you see all of them go through the trials and tribulations of being 15. Angela goes through her first heartbreak with a boy named Rob, and Maddie goes through some pretty traumatizing things, which is why I thought this would have been way too much to read as like a middle schooler. I would not have understood a lot of it, and I would have probably questioned what is going on. So I'm kind of glad that I read it as an adult, because I kind of have that removed point of view, sort of. So I don't relate to them, but like it's entertaining to read about them. And Maddie, she goes through a lot of stuff. Like there's drinking involved. She kind of gets into drugs a little bit, and it's definitely one of those books where it's like you learn some hard stuff about what these girls are going through. And what I thought was interesting is Zoe goes through this religious phase, and it's portrayed well, I would say. Like the religious part is portrayed well, but she also goes through this grooming with her teacher. And I'm like, oh my gosh, another book about grooming, no. But it's really portrayed in more of a lighthearted way, where Zoe doesn't really understand what's going on with her teacher. Not like the way Vanessa did in My Vanessa, but Maddie understands what's going on with the teacher, and she tries to tell Zoe. So basically the first book is very dramatic. It's basically them going through all these different scenarios. So Zoe is having this really weird relationship with her teacher, and it ends badly. Like, he's 24 and she's 15, so it's not like super... I hate to say that, because it really shouldn't matter how old the man is. What matters is that he's an adult and she's a child, and they shouldn't have a relationship regardless of whether he's 24 or 42. So that's all I'm going to say about that. But yeah, the relationship between them, the relationship ends pretty badly. Like, he invites Zoe to someone's house that he's house sitting, and he wants to have a hot tub party with her. And I'm just like, my dude, what are you doing? I don't know. Reading that was kind of a trip. But yeah, so it ends with, that storyline ends with Zoe like not knowing what to do. She doesn't know whether to go to this hot tub thing or not. And it's all revolved around this religious, like finding Christianity type of thing. Because her English teacher is a religious man, which I find laughable, because he's clearly not religious if he's hitting on a 15-year-old girl when he's like a 24-year-old loser. So that's the only thing that kind of irked me. It's like, don't bring Christianity into it if you're just going to use it to groom underage girls, because it's kind of icky. Actually, it's very icky, not just kind of icky. I think the only like tame storyline was Angela going through what she went through with Rob, because it's very typical for a 15-year-old girl to have her first boyfriend, and then they break up, and she realizes he was with someone else the whole time, and it's just very angsty, that part. But yeah, Maddie's storyline is the only one that's a little bit more heavy than Zoe's, because she really does get into like smoking pot and drinking, and she does some pretty unsavory things with another girl in their class, like taking her shirt off and with no bra, and like someone takes a picture of it, and I was like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, that's kind of where Maddie's storyline goes. But I think overall, in the end, they get through everything, and they come back on top. They really do. And it's nice because they're all close-knit friends. The only point when they're not close-knit is when Angela and Zoe are worried about Maddie, and they try and tell her that she's not acting like how they would expect her to act. They don't like that she's getting into drugs. They don't like this boy she's hanging out with. And Maddie kind of stonewalls them in the middle of the book. So I understand they were kind of frustrated with her, but it seemed like very typical teenage angst, like it's not just a phase type of thing. But Maddie comes to her senses, and she doesn't do drugs anymore after that. And the first book, I mean, it was really hitting the ground running. I was surprised at all of the shots that Lauren was taking with all of it, because you really had the normal teenage heartbreak, you had grooming, which is very weird, and then you talked about drugs and sex and all that kind of stuff. And it was very interesting, nuanced take on the teenage girlhood experience. And I really loved that it was told through IM messaging. It's probably my favorite part of the book series. So then the second book goes into when they're juniors in high school. And it's kind of the same spiel. They all go through their own drama. They all have their own trials and tribulations. And Angela is kind of always the one who is going through something that's tragic, but not overly tragic. But in the second book, the Angela dilemma is she's moving to California. And then the Maddie drama is she's trying to get revenge on Jana, who is the woman, the girl, not woman, the girl who posted that picture of Maddie without her shirt on. So yeah, there's drama with that frenemy, because Jana's kind of a frenemy to these girls. She's pretty crazy, I'm not gonna lie. And then Zoe is going through more trying to find herself with religion, which I think is a very interesting thread to follow throughout the whole book series. And she's trying to get into her first relationship with a boy named Doug. And it's really cute watching Doug and Zoe get to know each other through this IM, because she's so excited about it. And then it's interesting seeing Maddie like take a turn, and she's trying to be with someone too. She meets this boy named Ian, and he brings out the best in her, which I think is so sweet. And Angela's really the only one that's going through something super difficult. It seems like in every book, there's someone that's always going through something that's a little bit higher caliber than the other girls. Because like in the first book, I would say Maddie was the one going through it the most. And then in the second book, it's really Angela going through it the most with moving to California. And she actually ends up moving back because she lives with her Aunt Sadie towards the end of the book. And her Aunt Sadie is my age, so it's kind of interesting. I can't imagine living with a 15-year-old teenager at my age. I'm like, no, I think I'm good right now. I'm good. But yeah, so her Aunt Sadie takes her in at the end. And it kind of they all work itself out. All these books work themselves out throughout the plot line. So then Zoe and Doug start dating, and everything's going great with them at the end. And Maddie and Ian are dating, and I think they break up towards the end. I don't remember why. I don't know, a lot of stuff happens with Maddie. It's hard to keep her storyline straight in my head. But I know Angela and Zoe, they all work out pretty cleanly. And then the third book, it follows them when they're seniors in high school, so they're about to graduate. And I think the third book, I gave it 5 stars because I could really tell they had matured, and that's something that I love watching with teenagers, especially when I start engaging with them in the book at a younger age, because I can tell the difference between the 15-year-old girls and the 18-year-old women. And it's really interesting seeing how Lauren can really have them mature throughout the whole book series. And that's why I think the third book is my favorite, because it's more of like real world problems. Like they're trying to figure out where they're going to go to college, and they're trying to figure out how are they going to stay friends with one another. And it's very relatable, because I know in high school your friendships feel like make or break. They're like ride or die, but sometimes friendships in high school don't always last because, and I've noticed this with myself, you're only friends with these people because you saw them every day. And when you don't have to see them every day, you kind of feel like you don't have this connection to them. Because I know I'm only friends with one person I went to high school with, and she's my best friend, and she'll always be my best friend. And she's the only one that I can imagine keeping contact with. But it's interesting because I think Zoe and Maddie and Angela, they're different. I think they are the type of people that would, because their friend group is very small. I think that's another thing that contributes to whether you will stay friends with people after high school, is how big or small your friendship group was to begin with. And their friendship group is just the 3 of them, so it kind of makes sense. And it's realistic that they would stay friends with each other because it's just the 3 of them. Whereas me, with my friends, I was friends with like 10 other girls. We always sat together at lunch, we had classes together. We were all kind of like, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but we were all kind of like the nerdy girls in high school. So we kind of stuck together because of that. And yeah, now I only really talk to the one, Amber. I've talked about her before. Amber's really the only one that I would ever keep in contact with after high school. And I still do talk to her. Not as much because, life happens and we're adults. And, it's hard. Long distance friendships are difficult. But she's someone that I will always be friends with, I think. And that's one thing that I loved about this book series, is the female friendships and how it's so relatable to everyone. And it's really fun watching them grow up and talking about college. And then the 4th book is called YOLO. And I would have read that, but Libby doesn't have it available, so I had to request it. So hopefully I'll be able to read it soon, because that's one where they are freshmen in college, and I'm like really jonesing to read it because I want to know what happens. I really want to know what happens next, because I really liked following Maddie, Angela, and Zoe. They were super cool, very nice girls. I loved reading about them, and I would recommend this book. It was a wild ride. It was a good book. It was kind of cringy at first, and the writing is kind of like, you understand, it's text writing, so it's not good grammar, which is funny. But once you remove that type of pretentiousness that you might have in yourself, it's kind of easy to get into it and get excited about it. But I would recommend this book. It's very lighthearted. It's a lighthearted book series. I would read it again. I probably will read it again, because I'm going to try and find the other books in the book series so I can own all of them. And yeah, that's going to do it for this video. So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for commenting if you've commented before. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye, friends.